semi-finals, you'll have a double shot, still making it to Worlds.
Yeah, so these teams, as we said, this is really what it boils down to. We've had the spring, the summer, and the fall split, and the teams here today at the Super Regionals, they've earned their right to be here, but this is it. I mean, this is the last shot that people have to go to Worlds. We've got 12 teams here this week, and only 5 of them are going to make it out of this gauntlet. So we've got to see the best of the best.
And we just had the analyst desk there talking about this first matchup we're going to be seeing today, which is TSM up against NME. On paper, everyone seems to feel it's going to go TSM's way. Few people behind the scenes from both North America and EU are like, I'm not so sure there's a chance NME have a shot here, especially because, as the analyst was saying, the exuberant confidence of these boys over in NME's camp says to me that maybe they've got a shot at this.
Exactly. There's two things that are there are two different forces that are working for me Hindu on this one. Is not just, don't forget how the fall split started for NME. Right out of the gates, they came out with almost a 7-game win streak, really didn't have any problems until teams caught up. And Team SoloMid, although they're looking strong, keep in mind they do have a new solo laner. They did the Omen Challenge, but that's an exhibition. This is the first real LAN experience that Beckham's going to be
talking about real LAN experience, though. The whole side of NME pretty much are new to the LAN scene. Pain was there at launch tournament, but since then we've not seen him. We're in picks and bans, though. Jing 10, a lot of focus already on the board for junglers. Big focus on to adjust, big focus on Gauze with all those bans. The shocking one for me, though, is the Bellona ban by TSM. I don't know why they banned it, because Salt Machine, this season, he's played it, it's the most picked god.
Exactly.
For NME. The issue is, he's not got a winning record on this god. He's 4 in 10. 4 out of 10 games, sorry. 4 wins out of 10, and Hell manages to get through because of it. Well, Sol's available too.
Exactly. Well, Sol, we do have Sol available. Hell's going to be the first pick, and this is a big deal. The entirety of the fall split, for the most part, we saw this character played a handful of times. Really not that much. Not because she's too weak, because she's too powerful. So many pros have referred to Hell as a time bomb. If you reach a certain point in the game, her healing is just impossible to deal with.
Well, it is, but then you've got Osiris locked in immediately from TSM there. Anti-heal is a big important factor to take on the Hell. Oh, yeah. Locking Osiris, Lord of the Afterlife, reduces healing by 100%, so it allows a target to be annihilated in a quick burst of damage. Guess what God has a big quick burst of damage? Is the new god Sol.
Sol. Now, here's the thing. Sol is incredibly dominant in lane, Hindu man. She's going to be able to knock people out of lane. Her range is incredible. Her wave clear is almost untouchable. But how does she translate into the team fights?
So the big key with Sol, I'm talking to a lot of pros and the players themselves. Laning phase, very, very strong, very good early game. Mid game falls off a little bit as she's getting her itemization online. But when she hits late game, 2-shot. 2-shot deletion of a character is possible. So it's very effective against the Hell. And that's one of the reasons I like this Bastet pickup by NME here. They thought about these picks for quite a long time then, and I like the fact they went with Bastet. They're looking for the opportunity to try and poke this Sol down, get the pressure onto her as much as possible. And we also want Adjust to be looking for an early game god, and I totally said that during analysis. Completely true. This is an early game god you should be looking for.
And keep in mind here, so NME and Team SoloMid, coaches are allowed in comms for the pick ban phase. So right now, Team SoloMid, they have their resident coach, Jigs, who at one point was actually playing on the team. He played support for a while. So Team SoloMid has their coach, Jigs, in the comms. On the other side of NME, it's really all Pain Beyond. He's the one that put this team together. He's the captain. He's the general. He's the shot caller. And he's piloting the picks and bans right now.
You can see him clearly on your screen already piloting. And you can see the lineup coming out from TSM here. They've gone with Sobek as well as this Osiris. This is for extra anti-heal in the god as well. Make sure they can actually deal with a few more issues. The Capri pick by NME for me, fantastic. We mentioned what Osiris is going to do. Lord of the Afterlife, reduce someone's health to, the healing to 0. Then they're going to look for Annihilation with the Humbats and the Soul pickups. But in response, the Capri here is going to allow the revive option in case somebody does get focused down.
Right. The Kepri is so potent, and we've seen Pain Devion play this character. Don't forget, Pain is, you mentioned the history that Pain Devion has at this high level, and he's always been that Guardian player. So giving him a character like that going to work out very well for him. Nathan Hades as well going to be selected on the side of NME, so they have a lot of healing on their side, while Team SoloMid is stacking the anti-heal.
It's sustain and survivability is what they're looking for there. Even with the Capri, they've got so many ways to continue surviving in these engagements. That's the biggest key for them. Keep themselves sustained as much as possible and try and put the beat down on TSM. My issue is, though, is that at TSM, if Sol gets going really quickly, it could become a big problem.
That's really what enemies got to watch out for. They've got to milk the mid game, as you said. Early game's rough, late game is rough, but there's that section where some of these characters might be able to eclipse her.
I say that, but then Jean-Qui's just been locked in as well, so that's just going to secure the early game. Jean-Qui not as strong as you'd see later on, but right now, with the Sol, is a nice balancing up from TSM. Their composition here on paper is absolutely gorgeous. I love it.
Taking a look here at the guys for NME. They're considered the underdog by many, but they proved themselves dominant in the early parts of the fall split. We'll see if they are able to really channel that portion of the fall split here at LAN when it matters. And their opponents are Team SoloMid. This squad, they've had some issues. They've made some adjustments, but don't forget, this is the team that won the summer LAN almost against all odds. So Team SoloMid ready to play.
And I think that's a big key here coming into this LAN is that they're seeded 4th here. After that amazing LAN performance we saw them have, yes, they've had a lot of roster changes and changes with Boosh coming in and going out again, but now they're back to almost the same roster that we saw in the last LAN.
Yeah, see, that's really what does it for me for Team SoloMid is that they had Divios and they tried a position swap, right? They got rid of Divios and they tried some other things. They brought Boosh back in, which was an older player they had on their roster, and everybody went back to their natural positions, and they got a new solo laner to replace Divios. And I think that is going to really help stabilize the team. You've got the players in their natural positions, like I said, and that will really, I mean, that's what they've been doing for years, so just stick to it.
And that's what they need to do against this enemy lineup. We already know they're 4-0 in the regular season of the SPL against enemy. There's no reason to change anything up for them this split. It's up to enemy in this Super Regionals matchup to see exactly if they can pull something out and find some wins against TSM and put them through to face Envy.
So we're getting underway, folks. This is a best of 5. Team SoloMid versus NME. The team that goes ahead and wins will be taking on the #1 seed from North America, Envy. So we'll take a look at who is going to remain dominant. Both teams getting onto the track. We've got Pain to Beyond and Eonic. We're taking a look at our Guardians here, as usually those players go out and drop some wards. And if you take a notice, look at the right side of the map right away. Team SoloMid. Lots of vision.
Very, very safe. Very, very safe from the boys of enemy, though. They didn't go aggressive. You can see them just hanging around their own side of the jungle for the safest option because they don't want to go aggressive against a lineup like TSM have. With a Sobek on the line, you don't want to see a charge prey and get yourself down a First Blood who is very, very quick.
Pretty standard starts here. Don't see anything out of the ordinary necessarily.
Now
Jungler hanging out with the solo laner on the right side of the map.
Go through the bands once more, just the picks. I mean, we actually see Neath here. The Neath pick from Beefisham, for me, I feel is very, very strong. It's one of those that's good against Sol. Sol, in the laning phase, is very strong, very burst heavy, and looking for kills and potential fast wave clear. Neath is one of these that can sustain it for the most part against her, and also be able to do the same thing as push back the wave against Sol, so she doesn't get this tower pressure where she can sit with you under the tower and just continue to poke you down.
So Chaos taking the hell into the mid lane.
Oh, an invade on the right-hand side coming out here, though, as well. They're looking for the steal on the blue buff. I'm not sure if they actually found it there, but they may find the pick onto Adjust.
Adjust falls. That's First Blood going the way of Team SoloMid. And we're going to start Super Regionals off with a bang at second 39. Not even at the minute mark yet, Hindu. What do you think that says about the rest of the game?
Just tells you early game aggression is where it's going to be at for the most part. Look at the aggression over in the duo lane as well. Snoopy being forced out. Pendivan very, very low there, but he should be fine to just sustain back up the health potions he's got. But this is what they need to do, enemy here. With this Capri and Neath combo, they can try and poke back against Snoopy's Sol and put the pressure on before Sobek can really start getting involved and making a difference.
How are you going to poke this Sol back is really the question that enemy has.
So she's a mage. First of all, she's a mage, so if you can keep her locked down, if you can get the roots off on her and manage to get the abduct on from Capri, or the roots, is going to be very, very beneficial. Take into account Sol's Disapparate, her 3. She won't be having it at level 2 if she can help it. She'll be wanting more often than not her 2, her Stellar Burst, to be able to clear the wave as you see him. And then obviously her Radiant for the heat increase. But mid lane, aggression again.
Enemy still low. It looks like Chaos in some trouble here, but a quick heal going to bring him back up. Adjust finds himself low as well. Still only level 2 on that jungler. 4s across for mid and jungle on Team SoloMid. That's going to present an issue if you're 2 levels down this early.
We mentioned at the beginning of this game as well that what we want to see out of Adjust is early game aggression, early game dominance, try and put pressure on to allow the rest of the team to get behind them. He's on the Bastet, which is the pick we were expecting out of him, something so aggressive early game, but immediately this invasion from TSM has put him so far behind, he's going to be in a world of hurt, and he's going to put pressure further on enemy.
Eonic takes a little bit of poke after an abduct at a Pain to Beyond. Nothing really of consequence. He's sitting at about half HP. He'll be able to heal that up, though, with Sickening Strike. Salt Machine playing the Hades. Really not expecting to lose this one too much.
Well, we said all season long, Salt Machine has generally just played Warriors, and this is one of the only mages played all game, which technically is a Guardian, is this Hades that we've seen out of him earlier on in the season. Not picked it too much, but I think he realized going up against an Osiris with his preferred Bologna pick banned out, that he's not going to find anything else, so he's just looking for the safety. Problem is that the early invasion really hurt him too.
Now, we just saw the Unravel used onto Sol out of the kit of Vicium, and I think that's going to be a big deal for this Neath player going forward, Hindu. I mean, Sol, a lot of her bread and butter is the basic attack. Sure, you've got your second ability, that's going to clear the wave, but the basic attacks do a lot of the work when it comes to killing an opponent. That Unravel is going to bring that attack speed debuff along. So
it's all about
that's going to be a big key.
The heat generation is what's key for Sol, not allowing her to get that heat up to maximum rank. With Radiance, she'll be able to get it halfway, and then obviously with the Stellar Burst and the auto attacks, it'll increase it too. The attack speed debuff from Neath is very, very strong for that. However, at this stage of the game, it's working out fine for NME to go aggressive with that Unravel instead of using it defensively to keep sustained against the poke that Snoopy can put out. So far, though, this lane hasn't gone as TSM would have liked to have done. They would have liked to have put more pressure on, but NME, they've done their homework against Sol, and they seem to know how to deal with it.
Yeah, the clear of Neath is really what you're looking for. Salt Machine getting aggressed on here, ultimate out of the solo laner, and here comes the jungler as well. Bickham gets the kill on a Salt Machine, and it just turns it around.
That's what they needed.
Bickham just gets the double kill with help from the long lane. 2 onto the cat.
That's what they needed as well, just coming in at the right time. The ultimate coming out, honestly, from Salt Machine there was the wisest thing. It kept him in position, and they were in tower range as well, which meant they were still getting hit. He didn't get pushed back out of tower range, so they could get free pressure. The World Weaver from Vicium coming in. This is why we've seen a lot of Neaths anyway, let alone to deal with Sol. It's also for that global map presence that managed to turn things around.
Neath Bastet is also a classic combination of characters. The ability to get the stun out of nowhere, and then just converge with the ability dump from Bastet. A lot of damage coming in that situation.
Invasion on
the
the blue,
just leaves with the double kill.
Looks like we're going to see him come over and try and steal that one. I think he got that again.
Yep.
Did Bickham, so good work from him to actually pick that one up. So the dive onto the right-hand side, looking for the kill on Salt Machine, they were trying to make Osiris even bigger potentially here. And I think that's actually ended up hurting them a little bit, but they may catch out Pain in an awkward spot.
Ooh, Bean's a little bit too late. Pain doesn't avoid the flip, even though crowd control immunity goes online. Chaos should be able to outrun most of these ghosts.
Now, they could have dived that. They could have found the kill, but would it have been worth it? Ionic could have gone all the way in, but the rotation coming out from just back to the mid lane there would have secured. Ionic would fall down in trade there, so it's wise that we see TSM back away from that, but now with those ultimates down, it's a chance for NME to look for some more poke aggression with the extra sustain they have.
Still 3 in the mid. Team SoloMid not looking to push it too hard. Now, this Hunter matchup is interesting. These guys boxing back and forth. You don't want to box this Sol at all.
We saw the analyst desk as well. All three of them were discussing there to do with the fact that they expected this to be an aggressive lane between the two. They both like to fight. They're not scared of 1v1s. And for the most part, as the game goes on, they are the carries for this team. Vicium is being looked at as potentially the late game of NME. So watch him. But the problem is he's underneath. And at the moment, Pain's in a bit of trouble here.
Pain surrounded by red jerseys, and down he goes for the boosh on that Jean Quay. Jumping in is just, and help from the Neath one more time. Chaos takes out Dagars. 2-on-2 in the mid lane. Ionic looking for more, gets the pluck, throws
Chaos
right
has
into
no mana.
Boosh.
Chaos has no mana. He's now isolated as well thanks to Bickham's rotation. He'll run through the jungle, but he's not going to find anything other than his death. 4-3 in favor of TSM.
Salt Machine started to make the rotation. Didn't really need to do much there.
Oh, and now Vicium's going to get picked, I think, here as well. There's the Supernova coming out to zone him into an awkward spot of safety back to the tower range. And TSM found themselves another kill.
Exactly. I like the play out of Snoopy there. The damage from the Supernova doesn't really do much, but what happens is it just shuts off the exit. You can't go directly back. You have to head to the left, and guess who's waiting at the left? The rest of Team SoloMid. So directly into the damage. Snoopy winds up on the good side of that exchange. We'll take a look at Snoopy versus Vicium. And right there, very similar KDAs. And believe it or not, Vicium a little bit ahead with 2.8.
It is similar KDAs between the two hunters. If you look at the KDAs between all the team, the whole team as well, it's generally the junglers that are always top of the shop in this matchup. I mean, you've got Just at 7.8 and Gars at 7.6 KDA-wise for the season. But these two hunters, for the most part, they'll farm in lane because most people won't want to fight them. And then when they transition to the late game is where you'll see them come online. Difference is, though, I was saying this early, just before that little engagement, that skirmisher on the mid-harpies again, is that Neath in the late game isn't as strong as some of the hunters we've seen before.
Of course, where a lot of hunters have what they call steroids, right? Where it just increases the ability. Neath has the opposite. Neath actually has a debuff. So, unlike most, hold that thought, trouble for the mid laner. Bush gets stunned, but then Beads is it away. Here comes Hunbat. Scars drops the totem, looking to make things happen.
Bush is in trouble.
Decent amount of damage, but nothing really coming out of it.
Bush is in trouble. That's what's coming out of it, because the cats were dropped after the ultimate was on cooldown, but Chaos ended up getting picked up by Snoopy's burst damage there. Pain's going to try and root them down and slow them. Does abduct away, but Gauze is still thinking about going in, but he's not got much mana to continue this chase. It ends up being a 1-for-1, mid for mid.
I like the return out of enemy. They all were beneath 50% HP. Almost looked like an issue, but a combination of jumps, dashes, and a couple of missed abilities, honestly, on a Pain to Beyond.
Well,
letting the team
it was a one.
There, but Team SoloMid take what they get, and they go for the goal.
That's the big key there. It was a 1-for-1 trade, but TSM come out top, getting that first goal fury of the game, which will give them that gold lead. And no one on the side of enemy were really in a position to do anything about it. 3,000 experience, 2,500 gold. Enemy are doing well to stay in it and making this look contestable, but TSM are still finding these wins.
It's about, it's about the objective. Like you said, it was a 1-for-1 trade, but really you have to look at the HP, the total HP lost, I guess you would say. It was a 1-for-1 trade, so everybody, 2 players lost their entire life bars, but then everybody else that was alive, enemy was barely alive, and Team SoloMid, on the other hand, was ready to go out for a party.
They were.
Party was at Cold Fury, Hindu.
They were. We're starting to see, though, Hel's nearly getting herself online now. Breastplate of Valor should be finished soon, which will stop the aggression that Gauze can really put onto her. Full cooldown reduction on Hel, very effective for this sustain for a team. My only problem with enemy's composition here is it feels like they've drafted this comp to deal with what TSM have chosen. The difference is when you look to the late game, what? There's nothing late game, and I'm like, well, when enemy hit this point, they're going to go off.
Hel is a fantastic character to take into the late game.
But then there's no hyper carry with them. That's my concern here, is that it's got to be all about sustained team fights where they all manage to survive. If they manage to take out Hel very, very quickly in this, then there's not much else enemies really going to have for themselves. They're not going to have the sustained heals over and over again, because that's all they've really got. Mid lane aggression.
Ultimate coming out of the Gars, not really any consequence of it though. Pain to Beyond loses a little bit of his HP, but with that Hel available, everybody is clean and clear, so no big deal.
Really surprised by this at the moment as well, that TSM have gone so aggressive with the Gold Fury being down here. They should be happy just to continue to farm up during the stage where there's nothing to really fight about, but left-hand side, beats forced on Vicium.
Slick play out of Vicium.
That was a nice
Slicker play out of Vicium. Backflips out of one situation, bees out of another, ults out of a third. All 3 points of aggression by Team SoloMid just shaken off by the Hunter.
Just still wants to go aggressive, but he gets so much damage. He's going to get bursted down. Khepri has to ult defensively, bring him back to life, but they're still looking to bring down the Kitty, and the Kitty will fall.
Ionic picks up one, and now Team SoloMid turning around. There's no beads available for the Hunter, and Team SoloMid know all about it. Flip onto Chaos, right into the clutches of guards, but a strong heal. Is it enough? Looks like over the side comes the solo laner. Rotation out of nowhere. Osiris gets one, but Vicium takes out
Bickham, too much Bickham, too much. He could go down if he's not careful. They could continue the chase. Yep, Salt Machine will bring it down just with the in-hand, thanks to the help of the tower.
Oh yeah.
And that fight doesn't go as well as TSM originally looked like until Bickham came in to stay too long.
I loved the dive out of Bickham. That was the smart choice. It was the right thing to do, Hindu. The problem was he tanked that tower for too long. Each subsequent hit that the tower deals to you deals more damage. So the longer you tank that tower, you just put yourself in more and more of a problem.
It's such a very aggressive fighting though, and I'm not sure why. I mean, what's the objective after that you get if you win the engagement? The Gold Fury's down.
Gold's down.
You get a tier 1 tower maybe. You're putting things at risk at the moment, and I think that's a little bit of an issue I can see from both teams.
Okay.
I think TSM's a little bit overly aggressive for me, where they don't need to be. I mean, they've got the lead already. They can just continue to farm and wait for the next Gold Fury and fight again. But instead, they're fighting day after day after day. I guess they're just trying to fight through to the mid game, and then that's where the team will really start to shine.
But just immediately has to pop the beads to get out of the ultimate out of guards. Ionic doing what he can, but a strong Khepri ult through the wall sends Team SoloMid walking the other way. Great play by Pain to Beyond.
Well, it's a good ult over the wall, but it doesn't get the regen, so we're going to see it just have to go back to base more than likely. He's swinging around for blue to try and soak experience before he does that and get his speed, because with Khepri's ult now being on cooldown, once again we have to see enemy play it very safe for a little while, and they may look to exploit that once more, TSM.
12 minutes on the clock, 8-6 in what's been a very fast-paced game, and Chaos in a little bit of trouble one more time. But Ionic going to go ahead and miss the flip. So Team SoloMid, a little bit in the lead by about 2,000 gold, but it's a very small lead brought to you by pretty much a single Gold Fury.
First flip I've actually seen out of Ionic miss there, that charge prey. But him and Dagaz together have been the aggressors. And Bickham, he's really feeling himself right now with all these rotations too.
I mean, yeah, going back to Ionic, I mean, he's hit really just incredible flips that have really served up the enemy. Jump in from a just. Does a lot of damage, actually.
But that's what you're looking for out of enemies. You can see what they did there. Poke them down, sustain up, stay on full health, look for invasions and take objectives afterwards. They'll get the speed buff because of this here. I don't think Beckham can really think about it. But with Snoopy's rotation, maybe they can actually.
Nah, Snoopy will show up. You got a pincer coming out of Bickham and Ionic trailing on the backside. Chaos in some trouble. There's the ult, so no healing for a little bit, but the stun coming out of Ethan, just a heartbeat. There it is. Chaos should be able to heal in just a moment. There it is. Able to do it. And now Team SoloMid going very deep for a Guardian.
Well, that was a good combination from Enemy, really. They weren't looking for the Guardian, they were really looking for that pick onto Hell. If they could find the pick on Hell, the rest of their team would have to fall apart for the most part. It wasn't going to work out for them.
Right, well that one didn't work out, but we'll see where Team SoloMid is looking to next.
Fury.
Let's take a ride in with the guys on black and white.
That's best set, jump.
I got a puck.
Nice.
They're going on the
Getting
eye.
an ult.
That's.
Got a big ult.
Look at Capri. Oh shit.
He's killing the
Still Capri.
Response.
I was really low in the back.
Nah, we could get
Cat's
out
in the
that.
back.
Nah.
I was extremely low in the back.
No.
Oh, we couldn't catch
That's
him.
just looking at chase. I have TP up. He's
We
just
need
looking
one
at me.
ult.
They're gonna keep healing.
Yeah.
They're going gold.
I have TP. I can heal off.
Very typical communications coming out of Team SoloMid right there. They're known to be a low-key, sort of quiet comms team, but really just communicating the important stuff. You heard Team SoloMid basically the entire time. Hell's really low. That was the focal point. Unable to make it work, but you could tell that TSM really looking towards that Hell.
Well, Visham's in a lot of trouble now, going to get stunned out by the Tether. Has to beast that one out, but still getting poked down as well in the back. Luckily, Hell is now there to heal up. Boosh trying to do work, but he's caught himself out a little bit too far forward now. He has to beads to get away as well. These fights going backwards and forwards. I mean, I'm just surprised by how aggressive both these teams are being for game one.
You know, they mentioned it on... That's a kill from Vicium. No body block coming out of that one. Team SoloMid.
Gold Fury?
Ooh, that one's
Gold
a little
Fury.
bit rough. They're going to lose the tower, and it looks like Enemy going directly to the Gold Fury.
They need to, and this is their one opportunity to really swing things back in their favor in this game.
This is tough, though.
TSM do know it's on, and they might need to find more picks off this. They're going to look for Ionic. Ionic, the tankiest target more than likely on the team, is evaporated by the full 5-man grouping of Enemy, and that means TSM should give this up. The Gold Fury is going to go to Enemy.
Ionic gets evaporated and turned directly into a rain of gold for Enemy right here. That's going to turn things around, as you said. Let's take a look at the graphs in real time as the objective falls down, trailing by a little bit. That Gold Fury falls, and all of a sudden, 12:55 in the lead is Enemy, 9-8 on the kills.
And that was a nice bit of individual play coming out from Vicium there to realize he could get the World Weaver off. Ionic wasn't in a position to block it. Clearly he didn't have charge play down available, otherwise he would have dashed in front if he could have. And so with Boosh falling in the mid lane, that just allowed Enemy, who were all grouped up, to just walk in and take the Gold Fury for relatively free.
Very surprised that nobody showed the face. I expected Soul at least to throw something at it, but I guess Team SoloMid saw what happened to Ionic, so really did not want to walk into that one.
I know Enemy now has the kill lead as well as the golden experience lead. It's put them in good stead. My issue once again is going to arise because we're hitting the mid-game point now for the most part. Snoopy on this Soul, kind of a little bit weaker now. You can deal with her a little bit more. You can see that in terms of how the game's being played. Yeah, but then as the game hits the later stages, the carries of potential from TSM's lineup here is so much stronger than that of Enemy.
Right, this is sort of that mid-game dip that you were talking about. Early game, when nobody really has items online, she's really able to just abuse the pure base damage. And there's a Book of Thoth, some boots, but right now, Soul is, she's in that mid-game, so people are able to abuse her a little bit more, Hindu. When do we see Soul really take off?
You generally see it when, most of the time you'll see a Polynomicon quite late for the most part, and if you see that, you would probably see a 2-shot potentially coming out from them. You'll see the Stellar Burst into an auto attack, which can almost annihilate people, and if you can get full heat going, don't forget he also has that heal to keep him sustained in the fights as well. On top of, with the Disapparate, it's very hard for people to pin her down because she can just escape with that ethereal form.
Yeah, the ethereal form is, some points it could be a Fatalis, some points it could be an Aegis. It really Just matters how aggressive you want to be. And Team SoloMid hitting the gas pedal right now. Chaos and
Boost to
Pain
get the
stuck
ult off.
under the lurking.
Right
Yeah,
inside,
able to
though, there's
heal
still a
back.
fight going on there. They're looking for the pick on Bickham. It's not the easiest target to bring down. And Bickham took it 2v1. Salt Machine just stood and watched because there was nothing he could do. He uses the ult, but Bickham doesn't care. He's just going to keep wailing on him. Changes his mind. He's looking for more.
Level 17 with a Stone Gaia. That's going to be a lot of magical defense. Bickham able to walk right on through, but one kill turns around and becomes 2 on the side of enemy as Bickham and Ionic fall.
And that was the clump that enemy's looking for this whole game. They've got this held, they've got this Capri together. They can sit together and hold this team as a unit, keep them sustained, keep the peel coming to keep the carries alive and allow them to put the damage out. They're not hyper carries, but as a 5-man unit, it's pretty difficult to break them down.
Enemy goes ahead, they take the team fight, now they walk directly down the lane onto the tower. Very important, very intelligent decision making when it comes to objectives. They're looking directly at the map presence, and they're not even going to flirt with the Fire Giant. They might have vision on Sol over here in the left lane as she gets closer to the tower, but it's still, the Fire Giant right now, risk versus reward. They go for it, it can be problematic.
That's true.
No issues with the tower.
Well, on top of that, if you take the Fire Giant, all you're going to do with a Fire Giant is take towers anyway. Take the towers first and look for Phoenixes with a Fire Giant. Look to continue the map pressure. But look at this. Adjust aggressive on Snoopy. Ethereal forms down, but the kiddies are not interested. They've already had dinner
don't do
today.
anything, but the monkey does. Last hit goes to Snoopy. Soul finds herself with another kill. 2-0-3 for the Hunter on Team SoloMid.
Unfortunate for Adjuster. He found the pick on Snoopy, but the cats don't like Ethereal form. Obviously, it takes you completely out of combat.
Yep.
So the cats didn't even recognize it was a threat, so didn't chase it down. And then with Dagaz's rotation in, a nice repick.
Man, that hurts.
It hurts, but
That's
it's not
really what I've got.
For this-
Is watching, when you watch that ultimate or Artemis's ultimate just do nothing, that's just got to hurt right there.
For the stage of the game that we're in, though, it wasn't the worst thing that could happen for
Sure.
enemy. If they're going to drop a kill, drop it there. You've just taken towers. You've got the rest of the team on the map. The tier 1 tower had already fallen there. There was nothing extra for TSM to take off that fight. It looks, though, that enemy is still they're still trying to pick on Chaos over and over again, and Chaos is having a great game.
Chaos, I mean, sure, he's playing the Hell, which is what we were talking about. Hell is just, there's a lot of utility there, but... Ooh, ultimate force out of Bickham defensively. He's going to get stunned from Neath, and the final nail will be driven by Salt Machine. We talked about that Stone of Gaia, but when there's only 10% HP, it's all good. Hugbug grabs Boosh.
Boosh is
Damage
dead.
is strong.
Boosh is dead. Double dots coming out there as well from the Capri. They're going to get a tier 2 tower in mid now. Enemy is starting to surge on with this game now. They could potentially look for a Fire Giant because there's still 2 members dead for 30 seconds.
Nope.
But it looks like they want the Phoenix.
This is what this team has been doing pretty much the whole time, just looking directly for the map presence. Ionic going to be taken down by Salt Machine. Firebird being pressured. Adjust jumps out, looking for a re-engaged Snoopy. Very low, coming around the backside. The Cats one more time.
Gauzy's
Out
dead.
this time on
Gauzy's
the
dead. He's got no
jungler.
mana.
Gar's dead to Pain de Vion's damage over time. And there goes the first Phoenix of the game to enemy.
Really big keys for enemy this game. They've done
Huge.
so well. Considering the start of the game that they had with the early invade, they put pressure on to Adjust. We said Adjust would have to make impacts in this game, and he has done. But Chaos has worked so well so far with Capri and Visham's individual play as well to find that kill. Honestly, it's going to come back to that one World Weaver in mid lane. That's where this game has gone in enemy's favor. That one World Weaver.
You know, honestly, Hindu Man, at the beginning of the split, enemy was playing very strong, and a lot of people, myself included, sort of sat there and said, listen, they're overperforming, there's a lot of excitement, we'll see what happens when the other shoe dropped, and for what it's worth, the team did sort of stabilize and find themselves a little bit more realistically down further on the ladder.
TSM.
But with that said, look at the way they're playing.
They are playing very well, but they're playing to the strengths of their composition too.
Yes.
They're being allowed to. They're being allowed to group as a unit with this Hell and keep the sustain going. The cleanses also, not really touched on it. Those cleanses in a group will stop the amount of CC going onto the team and allow them to continue sustaining up. TSM, no. I feel they are over-aggressed with some of their fights.
Sure.
They had opportunities, they took them, and then they allowed enemy to get back in.
Do you think that's because of the fact that they have Soul? Do you think that they have overvalued Soul a little bit?
I don't think they've overvalued Sol. I just think enemy have worked with their composition better.
Okay.
TSM early on, they had a game plan of the early invade, put the new land boys to the blender and see if they can sustain. And they've done well at sustaining. They've kept themselves in this game because they've stayed grouped. They've stayed to their core game plan. Their game plan, however, though, if it goes too late, I'm going to keep saying it, if it goes too late, they could turn this one around, TSM.
We've seen that time and time again during the regular season, Hinder. You mentioned the new LAN boys. NME, for the large part of their for the majority of their team, haven't really been to LAN, but I'm not really seeing any of these. Usually we see some sort of jitters, whether it's over-aggressive rotations or whatnot. I'm not really seeing it out of these guys. These guys look pretty confident.
Not just yet. They've not shown any signs of that during this game. I've not seen anything anyone too over-aggressive.
Right.
Actually, the one person I say is over-aggressive a little bit on Bickham. He's been diving in very deep, staying there a little bit too long, or just slightly too far forward.
Which, worth noting, Bickham is the player on Team SoloMid that doesn't have that LAN experience. So it's a real thing. You're seeing him try to play a little bit of hero ball. Feeds away the pluck is going to be pain to beyond. No serving for Team SoloMid. Soul Machine going to go right on in. Grab the ultimate. That's a problem. Eonic, but from the backside comes a just over the top. He grabs the kill onto Eonic, so no support for Team SoloMid. It's a 4v5 in the middle lane.
4v5, but Bushi's doing some good damage there, but the sustain is just too much. Meanwhile, a Justice sat on the backside, picking up the remnants of TSM, and there, Chaos takes down the 4th member. This could be game right now. They're just going to push mid and look to end.
There's a lot of time. Eonic's up in 20 seconds. It's going to have to be a large push, but NME, they've already got the Phoenix down. Taking a look at it, the team rushing on in. Gars is the only one alive to play defense, and he's not even going to take the chance. A lot of people thought Team SoloMid would sweep this series 3-0, but NME says right away, no, sir. The first game of the Super Regionals goes to NME.
And that was one of their quickest games as well to date. Most of the time they go over 30 minutes. They took a mid-game game comp there, worked it out perfectly. Fantastic performance from NME in game 1. One thing to note about TSM, though, I want to see Eonic continue playing that Sobek. I want NME to ban that way because Eonic was disgusted on Sobek that game.
Exactly. There wasn't a lot of follow-up after the Sobek flips, but they came. What I was most excited about, the gank over in the left lane around 12 minutes.